Shalom Israel. First and foremost, when you give all praises, all honor, all glory to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem, Kakadash, the bodies of the apostles, and elders great millstone for teaching us his truth. Peace and blessings to the whole collective Israel and Shalom. Yahweh is the name of the heavenly language in Hebrew. By Hashem means the name, and Yahweh Shai is the name of the only begotten Son. Background lesson. And today I'm going to the tensions that Yahweh by Hashem Shai is building between the nations in order to usher in World War III, or aka Armageddon. As you've been seeing these constant, tensions in between Russia, North Korea, the U.S., Ukraine. You're seeing the consistent buildup of, conflict, and once again going back to tension. And the tension can only, reach so high. But of course, there are still prophecies that still need to take place and play out before World War III is fully, pretty much in place and playing out. But Yahweh Shai is gradually, once again, building those tensions in order to reach that point, that boiling point. But two quick articles I do want to dive into, just go into the situation at hand and pretty much what's going on. So the U.S. urges Americans to leave Russia immediately. Now, the call was prompted by the arrest of a WSJ correspondent in Russia on espionage charges, which you had, I believe, before then. I believe probably last year you had people within Ukraine, fleeing Ukraine over there because of, the constant threats that Russia was making to use thermonuclear capabilities, and especially, Russia making those threats against the U.S. And those are not some simple threats that you can make, against an enemy nation, that you're going to bombard them with, nuclear missile, which you're about to see in this other article right here. Going into it, Russia has just threatened the U.S. with a unique weapon capable of destroying it. I believe you had last year, I believe near kind of the beginning of the year, Russia was saying that they could wipe out America with, I believe, over 4 missiles. So these are some heavy threats that are being thrown out there, especially as North Korea, constantly doing these missile testing, especially doing with the ICBM, the intercontinental ballistic missiles. I believe the last one they tested was shot, I think over 1,500 kilometers. I think it was over 900, nearly 1,000 miles, probably more than that. So going to show the advancement that they pretty much have made, especially, North Korea, flexing the arms, showing their force, their might against the U.S. as well as, Southern Korea when they were trying to do those joint military drills. And pretty much North Korea stepped in and, pretty much showed off first, saying, they're not to be played with, So let's go back to this quick article here. We live it into it, and then we'll dive to the last one right there and dive to these few scriptures that came to mind. And Lord's will, this will be an edifying lesson. Now, Washington has called upon Americans who are traveling to or residing in Russia to leave the country. To leave the country immediately. And it's obviously, not a so-called good sign if they're saying, flee that nation or you'll be caught up in the midst of the coming trouble, But America's going to be the main one that's going to be in trouble, In the aftermath of arrest of Wall Street Journal correspondent Evan Dershkovich, while Moscow said he was caught red-handed trying to obtain state secrets, the U.S. has condemned the arrest as an assault on press freedom. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Washington was deeply concerned about the development, adding that in the strongest possible terms we condemn the Kremlin's continued attempts to intimidate, repress, and punish journalists, civil society voices. We reiterate our strong warnings about the danger posed to U.S. citizens inside the Russian Federation. U.S. citizens residing or traveling in Russia should depart immediately, the top diplomat said in a statement. I'll read the last bit. A similar message was conveyed by the White House, with Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre stating that the target of American citizens by the Russian government is unacceptable. As you've been seeing, once again, I keep mentioning, dealing with the constant threats that are being, thrown out to use thermonuclear capabilities, thermonuclear missiles, especially with all these missile testings, and as well as you saw recently, which is one of the listeners I went into, we had over there in North Korea 1.5 million, which is maybe more than that now, enlisting to pretty much fight against America. So you have these nations preparing to go to war, preparing to fight, and this is an end-time sign, an end-time prophecy that we are seeing playing out before our very eyes. going to show we're nearing the end of this wicked rulership and getting closer and closer to our Lord Yahweh Shai's grand return. And just to show a little bit, as you've been seeing, constant articles coming out, talks of war is in the air. Asian leader warns Putin war could spark nuclear war. North Korea fires South warning shot in a week. North Korea fires fourth warning shot in a week, Slovakia. North Korea simulates tactical nuclear strikes. So you see them preparing to fight, preparing to go to war. As you see with many other nations also, Russia, many others, man. Especially now that you are seeing a lot of these nations are starting to pretty much drop the paper dollar, and you see in the direction that they are going towards, that digital dollar. The CBD system now says that Russia just threatened the U.S. with a unique weapon capable of destroying it. Stops sharing capable of destroying it. Stops sharing information on nuclear forces with the U.S. Says Security Council of Russia claimed that Russia has a unique weapon capable of destroying it. Even the U.S. Russian Kremlin-aligned media outlets RIA Novosti and TASS, with reference to Nikolai Patrushev, said it correctly, Secretary of Security Council, quote from Patrushev, Russia has a unique weapon which is capable of destroying any opponent, mainly the U.S. So that's who their main target will be, and mainly the target of everyone's missiles is going to be America. America's going to be that main target. That red spot, on that on that target, where you throw darts. The main target you want to hit is that middle, which is America, man. Russia has a unique weapon which is capable of destroying any opponent, mainly the U.S. in any case, or in case there is a threat to Russia's existence. Which you've been seeing a constant back and forth. Russia making these threats, and America, not backing down, and saying also how they will defend every inch of NATO territory. Which I believe we had last year Ukraine put in an application to join NATO, or whatever the case may be. I forget the exact title of the article, but once again going back to U.S. saying that they would defend every inch, and implying the every inch, so saying they're going to defend everything in the United States with all their might. And Russia's saying pretty much back down, and if they get involved they won't hold back. They're not bluffing. Just a few articles I was recalling, a few lessons I made a while back going into those topics. And you're seeing those tensions, continuing to build up to this point as you see now. It's only going to rise up and get even worse. This is due to the spirit and the work of Yahweh B'Shem Shai. This is the doing of the Lord. Yahweh B'Shem Shai is the one orchestrating these things. Making these things happen. Hasten these days for his elect, man. And we'll pray that of that number. Now, let's get this last bit right here, and we'll dive to the scriptures. I don't want to drag this out. So details, he also adds that American politicians certainty that Russia will not be able to respond to a preventive strike by the U.S. is a short-sighted and dangerous foolishness. Excuse me. Now, let's dive into scriptures that came to mind. So once again, these are end-time signs, as well as an end-time prophecy, Matthew 24, 1-8. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came up to him privately, saying, Tell us when these things be, and what shall be signs of thy coming and of the end of the world. So it's going to list off those signs that we would see and that would take place before Lord Yahweh Shai will make his grand return. As you've seen many things happen and taking place already, dealing with these heavy storms, these earthquakes, these plagues, these pestilences, and these judgments that Yahweh B'Shem Shai is bombarding this place with. Going back to 2 Ezra 15, 11-12. How Lord, with a mighty hand and a stretched arms shall smite Egypt with plagues as before. It's where we're seeing so many things happen and taking place. As well as going back to Matthew 24 and 20, the 22nd verse. How Lord is hastening those days for his elect. So we're seeing once again so many things happening. So close after another, back to back to back to back. And you have many people that still clueless, still, asleep, but wide awake. Meaning, they spiritually can't see these things, They're pretty much, walking corpses, man. They're alive, but they're dead, without the breath of life in them. Now, to read this off, and yet verse 4, and Yahweh shall answer and said to them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I'm anointed, and shall deceive many. You already see many false prophets arising and being exposed for their works, their true intentions, and how they really feel, and ultimately what they're really about, man. About themselves, making it all about themselves instead of making it about Yahweh Bashim Shai, because ultimately they're in it for the attention, the spotlight, doing what fills their lust in their belly. You've seen the constant butchering of the breakdowns, the butchering of the scriptures, ton of leaning unto their own understanding, which is going to get them destroyed, man. But everyone has their own lot. The Lord's true prophets, as we have the Lord's false prophets, man. And the Lord's making known who he's dealing with and who he is not. Verse 6, whether you see it or not. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. The main point. One more time. You shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. We're seeing now. It's what is taking place before our very eyes as we speak. The constant threats being made, the conflicts, the confrontation that's being made, the tension that the Lord is building between the nations in order to reach that boiling point, to usher in and bring about World War III. Many articles, new outlets speaking on, is World War III a possibility? Is nuclear warfare a possibility? Not only is it a possibility, it's a fact, and it will come to pass. Now, finish off, and you shall hear, like it's being too fast. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For 7, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. It shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. So you see a lot of these plagues and pestilences that Yahweh Shem Shai is going to bring out upon this place, and how things will progressively get even worse from here on out. As mentioned in 2nd Ezra 16, the 38th verse, going to those birth pains. As already seen in the last verse right here. If you get an LT version, it goes into those birth pains too. But, and there should be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. You've seen tons of earthquakes. The famine brewing, especially dealing with the famine of the word. And pestilence that you're seeing now. New diseases popping up left and right. Verse 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows. And we're just in the start of this thing, man. Things are only going to turn up and get even worse from here on out. And if you're not on the good side of Yahweh Shai, under that hedge and the protection of the Lord, you are through. There's no getting around it, Go to John 14:6, how the Lord is the way. The Lord is the way. Revelation 11:14. Now it says, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And now we're coming into that third woe. And if you don't know what the word woe is going into, basically going to desolation and destruction, despair. You're going to that second woe. What is that? Speaking of the Second World War. So the second woe is fast, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And you're seeing the build up, pretty much the charge towards, World War III. It's a, pretty much an unmovable, train. It's going to keep going until it reaches destination, which is going to be World War III. Joel 3:9-13. Trying to, bring up these points. But now it said, proclaim ye among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men. The other men of war draw near, let them come up. Dealing with these nations. Now you have a lot of them starting to prepare to go to war, preparing to fight. Starting to stand up against America. And we're seeing how you saw recently, and that's big news, dealing with North Korea having 1.5 million people enlisting to go against Babylon, which is a terrible sign for America. But a great sign for those that are in this truth, because these are steps that need to be taken in order for us to reach the kingdom, to get out of here. Now, verse 10, be your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, beating these your farming tools into weapons of war, preparing to fight. Now, let the weak say, I am strong. See, these nations that were so-called weak in the eyes of America, in the eyes of Babylon, are starting to stand up, making all these advancements in the nuclear technology and, in their military, Now they're starting to, pretty much fear America, Babylon less, That's why you're seeing these constant threats going out. Verse 11, assemble yourselves and come all you heathen, gather yourselves together round about. There's a cause that mighty ones come down, O Lord, let the heathen be awakened and come to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat. For there I'll sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for the wickedness is great. So ready for the picking, Now, We got 4 more scriptures, and we shut it down from there. Like I said, the Lord is edifying. The Lord will get the point across. Just quick update going into these wars and the wars that we are seeing, the tension that Yahweh Shema Shai is building between the nations. Isaiah 34 and 1 through 6. And you've been seeing a constant influx of rumors of wars, the tension building. As it come to your nations, do hear and hearken ye people, let the earth hear, and all that is therein the world, and all the things that come forth of it, for the indignation of Yahweh Shema Shai is upon all nations. And his fury upon all their armies, he had utterly destroyed them, he had delivered them to the slaughter, which Yahweh Shai is also preparing to destroy the lot of our wicked people, which I may make no less just going to the wickedness of our people. Being seen an influx of videos of just that perverse wicked spirit that's being pushed in Babylon the Great. And there's a reason why 2/3 of our people will be destroyed, especially I believe either 1st or 2nd Peter, going to how judgment start the house of the Most High. But let's continue on. Now it said, their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come out of the carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. So you're gonna see just tons of dead bodies, and you're gonna see heavy judgment be unleashed upon this place, man. Because the Lord is not playing any games. Many of our people still want to lollygag, play around, and take these warnings for granted and as a joke. As if it's nothing's going to happen. Nah, we're crazy. We don't know what we're talking about. Yet when you read Matthew 24:37, how they mock, they scoff, continue on with their day-to-day lives, continue to so-called live it up. As you go into, later verses, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So it's going to be too late for our people to repent, to seek Yahweh Shema Shai, when you see those thermonuclear missiles coming and heading towards your house. Now let's continue on in verse 4. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heaven shall be rolled together as a scroll, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. It's speaking on the mushroom cloud. So you see many examples in movies and cartoons of a mushroom cloud being formed from those explosions. And all the hosts shall fall down, and leaf falls them from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Now, what is that sword speaking of? Those ICBMs, those intercontinental ballistic missiles that the Lord is going to unleash and send upon this place. As you go into another scripture in Jeremiah 50, in the later verses, it also mentions how the Lord is going to open up his armory against this place. What is that speaking of, man? As we went to Isaiah 9:5, many scriptures go into how World War III is in the Bible and how this place will be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. As a behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, another word for Esau, Edom, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. So you have, going back to Zechariah 13:8, Lord preparing to destroy a lot of our wicked people also. So those of our people that want to continue to party, so-called live it up, especially with so many things that are happening and taking place, and it also goes to show that the Lord is ultimately, putting a spiritual blockade onto them to where they're not able to receive it, where they're not able to see the things that are happening that's going on. The only thing that's on Jake's mind is partying and doing whatever they want. YOLO. I hate when Jake says that stuff, man. YOLO, you only live once. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. This goes to show just how wicked and destroyed this place is, and why this place needs to be destroyed, and why Yahweh Shema Shai will destroy it. I keep going to how for wickedness has exceedingly polluted the whole earth. It's like I'm kind of rambling, but you're speaking through the Spirit. Verse 6, the sword of Yahweh Shema Shai is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness with the blood of lambs, and goats with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. And when they make those sacrifices, what would they do with the fat? They throw it into the fire. Guess what? This is going to be thermonuclear fire, man. And there's in the scripture mentioned, I believe Zechariah, I think the 11th chapter, going into how people are going to be consumed away at their feet. People's tongues being consumed in their mouth or their eyes. People are going to be evaporated, man. And they show you an example over there in Hiroshima. You'll see photos of the damage that took place. People's shadows were casted on walls, man. Now let's continue on, and that was just, imagine the advancement that they have made now. The capabilities of the thermonuclear missile now. 2 Peter 3:10 now says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night. The Lord comes as a thief in the night to those that are not watching, those that are not paying attention, those that are not building themselves up and preparing for our Lord's return will be caught so-called lacking, as people like to say. Of course, we don't know the exact date, the exact hour our Lord will return, but we're given signs to measure the times that we are in, especially by the way of these prophecies, man. And we're getting closer and closer to the end, and many people that are still continue to party and living it, and that goes to show we're nearing the end. Matthew 24 and 37 once again. But now it says, the Lord comes as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with great noise, which is going to those explosions that be taking place and popping off, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Dealing with this immense heat that's going to come from those missiles. Once again, people are going to be literally turned to dust, man. Not even that. Completely just consumed away. Now it says, the earth also and the works that therein shall be burned up. It says these buildings, all these different elements, man, dealing with steel, rock, all that stuff, man. Especially the people that is in it. Revelation 16:15 down to that point. Now it says, behold, I come as a thief. There you go. And many of our people are not preparing for our Lord's return. They're not watching. And when I say watching, you gotta be paying attention to these prophecies and things that are taking place and happening all around the world. Especially, that's our lot. Our job as a prophet, as a teacher, is to be constantly observing, especially with Isaiah 62. You're constantly reporting on things that are happening and taking place, once again, especially dealing with prophecy. The times that we are in now. It says, behold, I come as a thief, blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. You don't want to be so-called lacking when our Lord returns. You doing something wicked, you being stupid, What do you do then when our Lord returns, man? And it's why we constantly, got to be building ourselves up and perfecting ourselves to the best of our ability before our Lord's return. Now, Habakkuk 2 and 3, close it out with this. Lord's edifying lesson. It's like if I kind of rambled a little bit, but it was letting the Spirit flow. For the visions yet for an appointed time, but the end shall speak and not lie. So we are in those appointed times as written and spoken of in the scriptures. And so, but the end shall speak and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it surely come, it will not tarry, meaning it will not delay. So these things will happen and will come to pass. And though y'all want to mock, y'all want to scoff, you want to make fun of his calls, all these different names, you have been warned, man. And that was Yahweh Bashim Shah warning you through his men, which are his prophets, which he uses as his mouthpiece to bring out his word, man. To prophesy and to teach. So Lord, it was an edifying lesson. Hope, pray you're edified. I do want to give all praises, all honor, all glory to Yahweh Bashim Shai, Bahashim, Rakakadash, that one of the apostles, and else great millstone for teaching us this truth. Peace and blessings to the Hope Collective Israel. Shalom, see you next time, Lord willing.